Alright folks, and welcome back to the Don's channel. I am the Donfather, and I'm now going to be reacting to something called In the Moment Carlton Draft Derby, Demolition Derby between the Fremantle Dockers and West Coast Eagles, and credit for this video goes to Docker TV, so check out their channel guys and subscribe if you are a Dockers fan. I haven't seen it, it's been heavily requested, trust me, loads of people have requested this. So apologies for the delay in doing the reaction. I hope you'll enjoy the video if you haven't seen it. I haven't seen it. And I also hope you enjoy my reaction. So anyway, no more talking. Let's get to it and see what happens. Let's go! The intro, In the Moment. Official timekeepers of the AFL. Full house.
Yes, they're calling it Civil War here in the West. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome
Civil
to
War.
a history-making, wonderfully warm day here in Western Australia as the Fremantle
Oh, beautiful weather.
take on the reigning champions.
Look at the
West
kits
Coast Eagles
and the
on a
shorts.
brand new look Subiaco ground here in Perth.
1995.
In the lead up to a derby, Perth gets pretty full on.
Geographically, the Swan River divides the city, but then we add another emotional layer.
During the week, you have a few people come up to you and wish you luck, or not so much luck if they're West Coast supporters.
I can only imagine how many bets go on, cartons of beer change hands.
When you win, or if you win, you get all the phone calls from the mates thanking you that they're going to have a good night on the grog.
What you might say
On the grog.
ends up at Fremantle, and what Fremantle say down at Fremantle ends up at West Coast. The chairman of selectors have said this, Fremantle have already booked a place to celebrate their win.
I don't think anyone in Victoria will really understand it unless you've played and lived in Western Australia.
Being a Victorian come over to Western Australia, it was a big eye-opener for me.
Oh, lovely. Yes. Yes. Come on.
I've been out in Melbourne a few times and you see the different clubs mingling around. It definitely isn't the case over in Perth.
Really?
We respect
This is
everyone
good.
else, and I'm sure they're great blokes.
You don't want to be seen having too long of a chat to a Fremantle player.
Heavyweights, and Gardner is leading with that left. Pavlich is going out.
We're going to Diggs now. Come on.
As much as we are, Shammer towards Carr. Somehow Kerr emerged with the football. Carr slaps it to the line. A bit more niggle. It's against Carr. You can't do that.
Oh, he's fell.
Joined the competition, the Eagles were, if not at the height of their powers, certainly right up there.
Oh, the first game was all over in the first 10 minutes, I reckon. Johnny Worsfold made sure of that.
So from the start, it was a bit like the Eagles didn't want to be knocked off their perch by the young new team, and took a lot of pride in that.
Ferocity of the approach from John Worsfold and the players was something to behold. We won that game, but it was always going to be a ferocious match.
Oh, yes. Stunning.
When I first got to Freo, we were a little bit of the whipping boy. We hadn't won a derby.
We just bullied them for the first 9 or 10 derbies. We were undefeated, and they got sick of it. They got sick of getting sand kicked in their face.
The older players that were sick of getting pushed around.
Dale Kickett, Shane Parker, Sean McManus, Adrian Fletcher, Daniel Bandy, James Clement, a lot of guys that I initially started my playing career with drove the rivalry because they were a part of a really losing history against West Coast for so long.
After the disappointments of 9 consecutive Western derbies, they are going to prevail. 119 to 72.
The Dockers. Finally get that monkey off the back. I've not been able to beat them.
First derby, I suppose the monkey was off the back.
No, I just said that as well.
Off Freo's back, and once you get that monkey off your back, you start growing a lot of belief.
I don't know whether they ever got over it, because it was, I don't think it was one of the most joyful losses of all time, put it that way. I do remember my kids not wanting to go to school. It opened up a new mindset for me to say, well, we are now setting up a rivalry that is as good as anything going around.
finally got that monkey off the back. And then the following year, well, they felt they got to back it up, and they went the knuckle, and that's when the Demolition Derby started.
Yes, 2000. Yes! Oh yes, this is absolutely superb.
Sparks go off, and unfortunately, and everyone's sort of running around and waiting for their wick to get lit. And I reckon at a particular stage, I think it was on the half-forward flank, and
you can't be the man.
Challenged by Phil Reid, or it might have been
back down.
Wembley maybe, and that was enough to set him off.
Kiki was never one to stand back and take a backward step, so he was one that got on the front foot.
It was almost like Fremantle putting a line in the sand to say, no, this is it. We're not going to take any more, and if we have to cross the line, we'll cross the line.
Some of those old
prepared for war.
Getting beaten up all the time by the Eagles. And
my word, he's just swinging for everyone. This is absolutely insane.
Fremantle stood for it.
Oh, it's glorious.
In football for a long period of time, other than sort of all the highlights on TV from the old days.
It was a moment where the emotion really did boil over.
Jones to Braun. The Eagles are still trying. Now Kerr can keep going and does.
Lovely solo run this. Tell you what though, that was absolutely outstanding.
Some Curry up just to take the game on, and he had 5 or 6 bounces probably through the middle of the ground and finished just inside 50.
Yeah, Kerry talks about that non-stop. We can't shut him up about it.
Yeah, Daniel Kerr.
So would I if I scored one like that there.
Talented players that I've been able to coach.
Quite a cocky kid as a 19, 20-year-old Kerry, so we definitely heard a fair bit about it.
Great running ability, and when he took that game on and covered that territory, he was one of the few players who could probably keep making those decisions, that he had that time and space, and that was going to get within range.
What's he called, Kerry? Is that Wayne Kerry people keep talking about to me?
Vision of that goal many times. Kerry doing the aeroplane afterwards, so he doesn't mind telling you about it.
People say that he's unbelievable.
Too often you get to see players run that length of the ground, showing their skill and speed, and fortunately enough, he finished it off.
Surely he couldn't from 48.
That's some kick too to finish it off on the run.
He kicked quite a few brilliant goals in his time playing at the Eagles, but that was probably the best.
This is it, last roll of
2005. What a mark! Wow! Well up, big man.
Luke McFarlane's a very talented player, more so known as beating his opponent.
Look at that!
But that was a pretty spectacular grab.
Yeah, Luke McFarlane's specky over Embers. I can remember a lot of speckies over Embers actually.
That was a specky.
He's that guy that needs to be the step ladder.
That is absolutely sensational, by the way. Look at that.
A long time ago now, it was back in the days where I could still jump and was allowed to go for grabs in defence. I think it was Dean Cox just lobbed in a long ball.
I could see it from a mile away. Luke, having the perfect run up, his launch into the football,
and just saw an opportunity to launch.
Oh, that is absolutely beautiful.
I hung on to it.
Yeah, he went from McFarlane, which was, I suppose, a good part of his game as a backman as well.
10 seconds. Mazungu. Here we go. Barlow's got to take the mark. Couldn't get it. Knocked over the line. Clock stopped.
To reel round from this far out, he's got to keep that straight line.
Check for the victory.
52 metres out. It's on line. It's there. It's going to
Oh! It touched the post. One point. They lost. That is insane.
I think we had Quinton Lynch.
I thought it was through somebody banged into the post and then you see it.
Down the vision, he allowed him to creep.
It's hit just at the red bit.
Sort of knew it hit the post, but was still unsure because
Was
waited
that-
for the final decision and got the result we needed.
Thank God it hit the post. There was many guys telling the goal umpire which way it went, but fortunately for West Coast, it hit the post and we got the win.
For anyone to have a
What a sickening way to lose.
Certainly in a derby, it adds that extra bit of nervous energy.
That's some kick as well. He's done everything right.
But yeah, we certainly can't fault
To be fair, it looks like somebody's knocked the post, and when they've knocked the post, the ball's hit it.
the short term that both teams have been playing against each other, there's certainly been a lot of great highlights and a game that a lot of people in WA like watching.
They've become a big part of the calendar over here.
It's only
I'd love to go to this derby.
25 years or
so aggressive.
Rivalry, but that's going to continue to grow and probably get stronger.
We've now seen Freo in a grand final and sitting in the top 3 or 4 on the ladder for a few years in a row. So I think everyone says now the early days are gone, now it's an even playing field.
And it's great for footy, great for footy.
It really is. It's great to have a big rivalry on the West Coast as well, not just round Victoria, places like Adelaide as well, where you've got Port Adelaide and the Adelaide Crows. But that there is exactly like, I could imagine, 10 or 11 defeats, they couldn't beat them, and then they've came up and they've got that victory, got that monkey off the back, and then the belief grows and grows, going to the next year. They're up for the fight, they let every challenge is contested, they're hitting them hard. The wee fella there, I don't know if he was an Aboriginal player, he's throwing digs around, he's windmilling into anybody that comes his way, he hits one and he instantly, instead of trying to hit him again, he's on to the next boy that comes, boom, 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 straight in. Absolutely delightful to watch. Sport played with absolute passion. That's what a derby day should be like. Fiery, everybody passionate, everybody emotionally charged because of the occasion. And obviously the early days are now over. You're now seeing Freo, the Fremantle Dockers, being able to compete with the West Coast Eagles a lot more now. And I think, did he say they'd got into the top 4 a few times now as well over the last few years, which is really good to see. I kind of have a soft spot for one of them. I'm not going to mention just yet. I know why I have it. I've been told a piece of information by a fellow Scotsman. So I don't want to say it out loud yet, but I have a soft spot for one of these teams. Just in this derby, I mean, not in the whole overall picture of the AFL, but there's one team who I would probably want to see beat the other one, purely because of a little piece of information I got given, but I'm going to hold that card close to my chest. Thanks very much for tuning in, guys. Thanks very much for that request. That derby is sensational, and I'm sure, as they said, with the years to come, it'll only get better and better and better, and hopefully you'll see a couple of flags going to the Dockers to improve the quality and the rivalry greater. So there's not one team clearly been better throughout history than the other, and it'll only intensify and magnify the rivalry and make it a lot better a spectacle within the AFL for everyone, and indeed the global audience as well. But that West Coast derby looks absolutely brilliant. Again, thank you very much for that suggestion. I'm absolutely delighted. I know a little bit more about it. The Carlton Draft derby. I didn't know what Carlton Draft was. I thought it was Carlton that was playing. Somebody goes, the Carlton Draft derby, Demolition derby, check it out. I goes, Carlton we're playing. But it's the beer, so I won't make that mistake again. Thanks again, guys, for watching. I am the Donfather. Don't forget to subscribe and put the notifications bell on so you don't miss any of our videos that we release, and that would be fantastic. Cheers.